All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a natural disaster so powerful it literally reshaped history. And the crazy part? It's been almost completely forgotten. This is the story of the deadliest hurricane ever recorded. Let's just start with a number. And, this number, it barely even scratches the surface of the catastrophe. 22,000. That is the minimum estimated death toll. Some figures actually push it closer to 28,500. Just try to wrap your head around that. A single storm wiping out the entire population of what would be several small nations today. Yeah, this was not just another storm. It holds this grim, unbroken record. The Great Hurricane of 1780 is, and this is wild, still the deadliest Atlantic hurricane of all time. We're talking more people killed in this one event than in entire decades of other hurricanes combined.
So that brings up the big question, right? If this thing was so apocalyptic, how come we all know names like Katrina or Maria, but this one is just kind of a footnote? Well, that's what we're going to dig into. We have to look at its unbelievable power and its surprisingly huge impact on history.
Okay, first things first. To really get why this storm is so overlooked, you have to understand its power. This wasn't just a hurricane. It was, well, a monster. So get this. Modern scientists have looked back and estimated the sustained wind speeds hit 320 kilometers per hour. That's 200 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, that is a higher wind speed than any Atlantic hurricane ever officially recorded. And when you see the destruction it caused, that number starts to feel terrifyingly real. And it wasn't just the wind, it was the sound. We have this eyewitness account from Barbados, and they said the sound was so deafening that people could not hear their own voices. Just think about that for a second. A noise so loud, so all-consuming, that you literally cannot hear yourself scream. That's what people were living through. The force was just off the charts. The wind didn't just knock over trees. It was so full of sand and sea spray that it scoured the bark clean off of them. It was strong enough to move heavy military cannons, we're talking thousands of pounds of metal, and drag them 100 feet. On the island of Barbados, every single house, every fort, just gone, erased from the landscape.
So after completely leveling Barbados, where did this monster go? You'd think it would run out of steam, but nope, it just kept going, carving this week-long path of pure terror right through the Caribbean islands.
Its path was just relentless. It hits Barbados around October 9th, and then for a whole week, it just grinds its way up the island chain. It slams into Martinique, then St. Lucia, and on, before it finally spins out into the Atlantic. For anyone caught in its way, there was just no escape, no break from it at all. And as bad as all that physical destruction sounds, the human cost was somehow even worse. It's almost impossible to comprehend. With every island it hit, the death toll just kept climbing.
So back in Barbados, where it first made that catastrophic landfall, an estimated 4,500 people were killed.
Then it hits Martinique. The death toll there, it doubles, 9,000 people. The main reason was this massive 25-foot storm surge that just washed over the town of St. Pierre. Not a single house was left standing.
Next up was St. Lucia. Another 6,000 people, gone. These numbers are just staggering. When you add it up, that's nearly 20,000 dead across just 3 tiny islands.
And we're not talking about just damage here. This was total annihilation. Take St. Vincent, for example. In the capital city, 584 of the 600 houses were destroyed, just gone. Entire communities were literally wiped off the map.
But here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. The hurricane's impact wasn't just on the islands or the people. It was geopolitical. This one storm actually played a huge role in a major global war that was going on at that exact same time. So the year is 1780. The American Revolution is raging. But you have to remember, this wasn't just some local rebellion. It was basically a world war. And two of the biggest players, Britain and France, were duking it out with their massive navies right there in the Caribbean, exactly where this monster storm was headed. The hurricane basically became this terrifying, impartial weapon of war. The British Royal Navy, they were caught right in its path, and the losses were catastrophic. We're talking multiple warships just gone, sent to the bottom of the ocean, taking thousands of sailors with them. Now, the French fleet, on the other hand, they've got incredibly lucky. A whole fleet of 40 warships got hit, but they only lost a single frigate. For the British, this was a massive, massive strategic blow. In just a few days, Mother Nature did what the French Navy couldn't. It crippled British naval power in the Atlantic, and this had a direct impact on their ability to fight the war in America. It's just a wild example of how a random weather event can completely change the course of human history.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together and really put the Great Hurricane of 1780 into its proper historical context.
You know, just a cool piece of trivia first. You know how we name hurricanes now, like Katrina or Ian? Well, back then they didn't do that. In the Spanish territories, they'd often name a storm after the saint's feast day it hit on. This one hit Puerto Rico on October 14th, so over there it became known as the Hurricane San Calixto.
But this chart, this really puts it all into perspective. Look at that top line. The Great Hurricane, with over 22,000 deaths, just dwarfs everything else. We're talking almost double the number of people killed by Hurricane Mitch in 1998. It's nearly triple the famous Galveston hurricane from 1900. It's not even in the same league.
Let me put it another way. The number of people who died in this one storm is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around it. It was a tragedy on a scale that, thankfully, we have never seen again in the Atlantic. This one single storm killed more people than many entire decades of hurricanes combined. And that brings us back to where we started, to the human costs of this forgotten catastrophe. Just try to imagine it for a second. You're living in that time. No satellites, no weather channel, no warnings, no evacuation routes. All you see is the sky getting dark and the wind picking up, not knowing you're about to face the single most powerful and deadly storm ever recorded. It's a really humbling reminder of just how powerful and how unforgiving nature can be.